What you're asking, we can't do it.
Don't tell me I can't do it. Don't tell me it can't be done.
From Salt Lake City, Utah, this is the Guerrilla Film Guide podcast, where we talk with other creatives in the film industry to share their insight, talk about their process, and encourage others to pursue their passion. And now, here's your host, Michael Merrell.
How's it going, everyone? I am super excited to introduce you to our guest today. We've known each other for a little over a year now, and he is a super talented writer, director, editor, cinematographer, so many other things, including just being an awesome guy. So I'm super excited to introduce you to Eduardo Ayres.
Well, thank you, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the show, man. I'm really excited to be talking to you today.
Well, this is my first podcast, so I'm pretty excited. I'm a little bit anxious, but I'm excited.
Don't be anxious, man. This is, it's giving people the opportunity to kind of get to know you, because I think they should. Like, we'll get into why. I'm sure you'll all see as the conversation rolls out, because you have such an interesting background. So will you just start off by telling us a little bit about your background and how you got into film? And because I know you grew up in Brazil, and then you came to the U.S. and you studied at NYC before coming out here to Utah. So, but beyond that, I don't know much else. So, like, tell us a little bit about how you got into film.
Yeah, I did my elementary school and high school in public schools in Brazil. Right, and until I got like a scholarship, there is a scholarship for the government that you do like kind of a national exam, and when you get a good grade, you receive a full pay undergrad. Right,
Oh, nice.
That's how I start doing my undergrad, and it actually was in visual arts. So I first started studying visual arts, like painting, sculpture, art history, that I was really in love.
And was this at a Brazilian university?
Brazilian.
Okay.
Yeah, Brazilian, right? And while I was doing that, I was studying there, I was actually working as a graphic designer in a newspaper in Brazil, right? Then I changed to be a instructor. I think a teacher, right? Yeah, a teacher. So I teach in elementary and high schools in Brazil. I think I was 21, 22, until I got another scholarship to study abroad, also by the government. They called it Science Without Borders. Then I got in 2012 in Pennsylvania. There is when I decided to change for film.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
so I started studying film there, and then I changed for NYU. I studied at Tisch during the summer. I go back to Brazil again. Right, it was just 1 year in exchange program in the United States. When I got back to Brazil, I just started working in a production company, and I worked there. I was the senior editor there, and then...
Well, skipping over, like I did a little bit of my research here. You were a senior editor on like a pretty decent sized Brazilian like cooking show, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
like it went, yes. There was okay, this story is very interesting, and I'm very proud of that. Let me just tell you how was it. So when this production company is called Kerosene Pictures, or Kerosene Filmes in Portuguese, and they kind of hired me to be the intern, right? In Brazil, they have no idea what's tiche, they don't care if you study in the United States or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so they kind of hired me to be the intern. So it was just like kind of looking through footage and choosing things, right? And it was me and another intern. And I know that they were not very fond of me.
Oh.
Yeah, and I had the feeling that I would not stay there after the first 3 months. So what happened is I got there, and they gave me the worst footage they have there. That nobody was kind of having the solution for that, putting together. Right? It was a very difficult editing.
So they didn't like you, so they just gave you the worst job.
Yeah, they don't know what to give to me, right? There was not enough, right? And so they just gave me something that was in their jar like for years. And then I start doing the editing, and then they see that I was capable of doing that. So actually I start to be the person there in the production company that was receiving all the hard works that nobody knew what to do with it.
Oh man,
right?
You
Yeah.
earned it, man.
Yeah. And then what happened is then I was not an intern anymore. I was doing all kinds of editing, and sometimes my boss asked me to stay after midnight because he usually trusts me for this kind of works. Mm-hmm. So they started doing a cooking TV show in Brazil. in the Kerosene films, and they're having so much problems. They have 2 editors working on that. Right, yeah. And then on the 5th episode, my boss called me to his room, and I thought, okay, his office, I thought he was going to fire me. And he actually says, he said, I really believe in you, Eduardo. I want you to do the editing. And I knew that was bad, because like 2 editors working on that. Why he's giving that to me? Right? Because he wants to save money too, of course, right?
Yeah.
And then I did the 50th episode, and they just love it. And they fired the other 2 editors, and they just had me. Yeah, and then sometimes I had to work 14 hours a day during 5 days straight to have the episode there.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is part of the story. Let me tell you now. My favorite part is, as the TV show had some problems, so they are always firing people. They fire directors. So at the end, there's one point where I was the one that mostly know about the show, especially when you change so many directors. And I was the editor, the main editor, the only editor actually. So I was seeing all the gaps in the story. And so many times I was kind of asking the directors, can you do this kind of question so I can put this in this certain timeline here in the time code? I feel we need something here to change the mood, the energy of the editing, like kind of create a curve,
Yeah.
a curve of story arc.
Story arc.
Yeah, a story arc. Yeah, thank you. And after some time, I think my boss, he got tired to hiring directors, and he said, like, you're gonna direct. And so
You're gonna do everything. You're gonna do the whole show yourself.
Yeah, and then we had like 15 people working on that, right? Yeah. And I know he didn't place me on the director before because he was afraid that he would not get, I would not be able to do both.
Yeah.
And he knows that the editing I was doing so well, and I think he has more faith that it's easier for him to find a director than finding an editor to do it.
Well, at that point, I mean, you were essentially a showrunner or producer, with.
Well, yeah, we kind of. But I understand what you mean. Yeah, but like the priceless thing on all this is that this is something that we were talking about before we started the podcast about how people behave. Have weird behavior on the film industry. So in my first day on the set, in the first episode, like actually I was not the editor, I didn't start as the editor, I started as a camera operator. Mm-hmm. And the sound guy there was so mean to me, so mean, that they actually pretend that his camera that he brought fell on the floor because of me.
Are you serious?
And he tried to make my boss to pay for it.
Oh my God.
And guess what? In the last episodes, I was his boss.
That's awful.
Yeah.
I mean, serves them right though. That's ridiculous that they. I mean, yeah, we were talking about that before. We started the podcast. Of just there's a lot of just really weird ego in the film industry.
There's a lot of it.
And
yeah.
I think one thing that I love about Utah is just that there's still competition and there's still ego. But for the most part, it is even with people who you don't directly work with, there is a very positive familial relationship. I have dinners with producers who I haven't had the opportunity to actually collaborate with, but we all just want to get together and talk about what we're working on and support each other, and we share each other's work all the time. And so I love that about Utah.
And I think it's in Utah is a little bit more genuine than in other places, because in other places like in LA, people say, "Oh, let's collaborate, let's do something together." They are just being polite,
never
right?
happens,
But
yeah.
I feel that here people are really interested in collaborate. People need each other, and I think people support each other. Of course, we have problems in any other place, right?
Yeah.
And like the film industry, the film community is any other community. Mm-hmm. Right, all communities have their issues, right? But I think compared to, for example, LA, Atlanta, I like our community.
Yeah.
I think I have a bunch of people that really has helped me, and I wish I could help them too in their projects.
Yeah.
So like it's just finishing my story. Okay, so like after the production company, like my boss said that he wants me to direct the second season, right? But then I got this full teaching assistantship at the University of Utah. So actually, They gave me the full tuition, so I didn't pay for anything for doing my master in the United States, like in my film production, right? And they actually gave me a job, so I was teaching the undergrads at the University of Utah, right? And that's how I ended here, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know I've talked to people who've taken your class who just say how much they love it and how much information they get from it. So you've been teaching up at U for how many years now?
2 years.
2 years.
Yes. So I teach the first year. I teach film production one, and the second year I got another scholarship, another scholarship to create my own class. So I create.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I create producing commercials. That actually we did several commercials in class. I'm so proud of those commercials. If you see the final products, I'm really proud.
I did
of it.
actually. I saw the ones that you posted on Facebook.
You saw it,
they're
yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and we need for many mediums. Like we did for Instagram. We need for Facebook. Of course, we try to stay like between 15 and 30 seconds because I would like this to be more TV spot like oriented. But if I'm going to teach that again, I'm gonna do several different kinds of commercials, including like maybe just kind of documentary commercial, like the corporates ones, like that you do for companies. 3 minutes explaining everything. This is part of the commercial production, and this is something I would like to have approached with the students, but we didn't have enough time.
Well, I'm really glad that you started that class, because one thing that I found when I was first researching different film schools was each film school is kind of very different with what they focus on. Some like the U and USC and some of the bigger film schools, they're very focused on like narrative filmmaking and getting you ready to step into the industry, versus some other film schools I know Slick's program, even though from what I've heard, I only did 2 semesters, but from what I've heard, Slick's program is definitely more focused towards like getting you into the commercial side of things and the more technical knowledge and things like that, which is why I chose them, because I already had a big knowledge of film. I didn't need to sit through tons of lectures on film theory and stuff. I needed to know the technical side of it. But yeah, so it's really good to see that you've helped the youth start kind of expanding their program to cover more, because it seems like you'd want that to prepare people for the industry, because that's where most of the work is going to come, is through commercial work, and then you get to do the bigger actual narrative films from time to time.
Yeah, like about this, well, I have so much to say. We could do another podcast just
I'm
to talk
sure we
about
will eventually.
just to talk about like how different schools have different programs, and difference for. I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna how you say deviate. It's not deviate.
Go on a tangent.
Yeah, go on a tangent. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But very briefly, just talking about that. For example, the USC, like University of California, right? They have the purpose to make you enter into the industry, right? So you learn how to work with big crews and things like that. It's like, for example, is more like a commercial but low budget in some way, right? So the U has the focus on you becoming an artist. That's the difference between Scorsese and the difference than somebody that, for example, direct
Michael Bay.
Well, yes, but like the essence, the content. You see, there's some directors that have their unique look.
Yeah.
Right, and this unique look comes from art, in the sense that you knowing how to express yourself, found your mark, found how you want to your vision of the world, and place that in moving pictures. Right. So this is you need not just the technical part of knowledge of that. Many of these Hollywood directors, they don't know anything about lenses. They don't know about lighting. They don't know how to put a C-stand in the floor, but they know how to convey a good story. They know how to create a film that is part of themselves into the screen. Right. So I think they focus a lot on film theory and on being an artist. Right. Author.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Not that the other schools don't do that, but they have a different approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into
No,
it.
no, no. I think it's a good tangent to talk about, and we'll definitely have to do another episode specifically about film school, because you would definitely be the person to talk to about that with your experience. But I think you're definitely right, and that's why I think there are, like myself, so many film school dropouts because people don't do enough research into what type of film school. They look for the best ones, but they don't look for what type of program they have. And so, if there's somebody who that program doesn't cater to their particular style or what they're interested in, then they're going to feel like it's a waste of time, like I did, and drop out. And it's nothing to do, not always, but it's usually nothing to do with the teachers or anything like that. It's just it wasn't the right fit.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are some people that come from Chapman, from USC, they come to the U because the U is going to allow them to do the thesis on whatever they want.
Yeah.
The USC doesn't let you. The Chapman USC, if they look at your final project, your script, and they don't like it, you are not going to make the movie.
Yeah. Well, there are places in Utah that do that.
Well, University of Utah is very different from that, right?
Which is why I love the
Yeah. And let's agree, doing a MFA, a master, it's very expensive, and many times in film, I'm gonna be very serious. It's not worthy. So, if you're going to do at the University of Utah, you are going to do mostly for free.
Yeah.
They're gonna actually pay you a salary. You're gonna have the income there because you're gonna work as a teacher, as an instructor. I think this is fantastic. This is amazing, and that's why I think it's a unique opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. They like I said, I know largely through you and Jose and Bethany. I've gotten the opportunity to meet a lot of people from the U, and I've had to walk back a lot of comments that I'd made in the past about film students that were not entirely kind, because I had, up until then, my experience with film students had largely been egos that were far too big for what their actual skill level was.
This is real. You are not wrong.
I think that people have a misconception about film school, that when you leave film school, you're a filmmaker, and that you're done. You don't need to learn anything more. And that's not the case. They give you the tools, but then it's up to you to figure out what kind of a filmmaker you are, like you were talking about. And I think a lot of people don't do that, and they eventually kind of wash out. They fall away from the industry because or they get flushed out by other people because you don't want to work around that kind of ego.
And in some schools, film school, if you are going to do a master, usually you have money, especially in film, right? And some of these people are very entitled, right? They have a lot of money and they go there, and then when they go to a film set, they don't want to grab coffee for a director or for somebody else, right? They want to get the director position immediately. This is not going to happen unless they do their own company, which many of them do. So,
yeah, and there are definitely, I'm sure it's not just Utah, but I know when I was researching starting my LLC, it was kind of daunting looking at how many different production companies there were that had, I found them on Google, but then I look at them and 99% of them had not done anything in over a year. They'd just eventually gotten flushed out of the system because they just didn't have, I don't know. They just either didn't have a business plan, or they didn't have the drive, or what. But it's daunting to see that. I think the U definitely has a much higher success rate because of the way that they teach their program.
Yeah, and I think it's getting better. It's getting so much better.
Yeah,
they are kind of changing with time.
Yeah, no, that's really fantastic. So let's actually get into Chasing the Dragon here, because I want to know. I mean, I was obviously there for the to be on set itself, but
you're part of the crew.
Yeah, I was part of the crew. I was. It was a really awesome set to be a part of, but tell me more about the actual process of it from pre-production to post, because I was not there for that.
Well, it was a very long process, right? If I can start right from the beginning, let's talk about pre-production, right? Even before pre-production, let's talk about the concept. So in Brazil, I always, my friends were transgender, right? Transgender woman. And I have many of them since when I start going. I'm an LGBT director. I'm a queer director. I consider myself a queer director. I am gay, and I do films about LGBT, like about LGBT people, like with LGBT characters. And when I was 19, I started going to gay clubs, and that's when I started having contacts with transgender women, right? And one of my childhood friends, he at the time was he made a transition to be a woman, and I met him years after, and I couldn't believe it. So we becomes like best friends again, right? In this reuniting, yeah. And 1 year, I think some months before Chasing the Dragon, I started writing the script. She commits suicide. Yeah, so she commits suicide. Her name is Alessandra, right? So Chasing the Dragon was my idea and my vision. Okay, she was working, if I'm not mistaken, on I don't know a correct word for that, but it's in the sex industry. You know, she as her selling her own body.
Yeah, she was a sex worker.
Yeah, sex work. Thank
Yeah.
you. This is the word. No, right. And this happens a lot in Brazil. Transgender a woman happens to be not happens, but like this is the only job they can get. Right here in the United States seems to be much easier for a transgender woman to do all that stuff, but like in Brazil is mostly just sex worker. And so this was on one episode, right? One event that happens to me that was her passing away. That was really strong. Like I really would like to do something about it. I really would like to do films. I was tired to do films just to be pretty, just to be Hollywood. I was like, okay, I think it's time for now for me to send a message, right? And I think I can send this message. And other two episodes, not episodes, but events that happened. One was when my friend, he was robbed, and he went to the police station, and the police officer asked him if the guy that robbed him was not a homosexual, because homosexuals do this kind of thing. And I was just thinking, come on, what if a police officer is a homosexual? What if the police officer decides to change his or her gender? Right, and then was in the high of Trump, not Trump administration, but we have very strong. He was just being elected, and there is a lot of conflict. You know, like there is a lot of polarization in the world right now, right? Left and right, and people are getting very far away from each other. Right, and that's having so much conflict. So I was also interested in this conflict between liberals and Republicans, right? Or even like something that's considered very much liberal as transgender and gender identity, very much related to a work that's intrinsically conservative.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you know that, but police officers, they are forbidden to be in uniform in many of the LGBT parades.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because Stonewall Inn, right? Stonewall, right?
Yeah, I
So
know about Stonewall, right.
it happens because it was a revolt against the police,
Yeah.
right? So the police were the antagonist on this situation, right? That was they start all the LGBT movement, and so there is a lot of problems between this communication of LGBT and law enforcement.
Yeah.
Right. Even when I started doing the Chasing the Dragon, the Instagram account, I received so many messages of people, LGBT people, complaining, why you are doing this? Like, police are bad for transgender. They kill transgender people.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I knew that this would happen, you know, but I think was a very important thing.
That's
Right.
it's something that's so sad. This the polarization of
Ideas,
people today and
positions,
ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, like
How do you think that makes the actual the LGBTQ officers?
yeah, and they exist. There's we entered in contact with T-Cops. That's a transgender law enforcement organization in the United States. They have so many transgenders, like police officers, law
Do
enforcement.
you know any statistics on that? Like how many
She told me I think around 3,000 in the
in the United States?
No, I think in the globe. I don't know. I'm sure if it's in the globe or in the United States. I know that for Chasing the Dragon, I actually met, or virtually, of course, two transgender woman detectives. right? And they read the script many times and they give me a lot of information. Like, for example, one information is the times that they are treated badly by people, by civilians, is because they are police officers, not because they are transgender. Right, so there's I think this is a so interesting subject. There's so many approaches. That's why I want Chase the Dragon to be a TV series. We have so many stories and so many things to approach, right? But at the end, they decided to do Chasing the Dragon, the short film, as a proof of concept. So if you watch it, you can see that it's pretty much a convoluted story. It's an agglomeration of things. It's very much story-driven instead of character-driven, which I regret. I wish was more character-driven and story-driven. But that was my approach, and that's how it happened, and it's working. Right?
No, it definitely does work. I think that, even though you're right that you don't get to as much time to connect with the characters as much, what you're watching, and this is why I think what you and Angela, your cinematographer, did so well, is that when you're watching the film, what you're and also credit to the actors and actresses who just did such an
Natalie
amazing,
Dutch,
Natalie Day
Walter,
is,
yeah.
And Natalie Day did such an incredible job in this role that it didn't matter that we didn't have enough time to connect with them, because their performance and what you were watching was so clear and so vividly conveyed the emotion and the tension of that situation and how she felt against that discrimination. It's incredible. So whatever you may have wished to change, it's definitely working. And
I wish we could. Yeah, well, when you go to production, like talking about the production, I have a bunch of stuff to talk about. Like Natalie, she did an amazing job. So going back now, talking about the stories and these events, another very great influence for me was Wind River. So I was
Such a good film.
I joined Sundance, right? I was just being a volunteer there, and I watched the film Wind River, right? I think it was one of the first screenings, and then have a so strong impression upon me. Like this isolation, this very, actually, like Taylor Sheridan as the director of Wind River, I think what's the name of the, well, Sicario. I love Sicario. Sicario was another great influence because I really like the strong female character, right? And also Yellowstone, right? That he's directing here in Park City.
Is he directing or is he just writing that
He's just a showrunner. So,
the showrunner.
yeah, he doesn't, I don't think he goes to set anymore, right? But he does an amazing job. Let's hope that Park City Film Studios, they go in agreement, right? Like with the show, so they can stay here, doesn't need to go to another place.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. And so Taylor Sheridan, he has this very male, like masculinity environments, right? And one thing I realized after doing Chasing the Dragon, and this is something that I have suffered from all my life, is that I, for quite some time, of course, you look at me, I'm a man, I have a full beard, like people who look at me sometimes don't even know that I'm gay, but for many years of my life, I didn't consider myself a man. And that happens because I look at other men and say, okay, I'm not like this asshole. I'm not like this person. I don't behave like that, and I don't want to be like this person. And so I think Chasing the Dragon and many of my works is kind of appropriating of these very toxic and male environments and appropriating of it. I think a transgender person can be in a law enforcement. This can be a very male environment, as I have repeated many times, but it's not a place to exclude me. It's not a place that I think I will exclude this of my life or LGBT exclude. Yeah. So that this is, I think, is about the polarization we are talking about. People get so far away from each other, and I don't think we need to take the law enforcement as something opposite of us. No, law enforcement can be LGBT too.
Well, they ought to be a part of the community.
Exactly, and we need to take this back to us.
Yeah.
Right, and I think Hannah, that's the main character, the trans woman in Chasing the Dragon, she's the one that said, no, I'm gonna stay here. This is a place for me too. And doesn't matter how many toxic assholes is around her. She's gonna stand her ground and she's gonna say, no, I'm gonna do my job and I do my job very well.
Yeah, and this is in a very small town.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And this can sound silly. I don't know much about American history, but there is the woman, I think it's a black African American woman that stayed inside the bus. Remember? And she didn't went
Rosa
to the
Parks.
Yeah, right. And I think it's in some way, of course, we are not like Rosa Parks because she did something really great in a time where it was really violent against her. Mm-hmm. But I think every LGBT needs to take these positions too. Like, it's very macro. Like, it's just stay on your job. Like, it's not because you're LGBT that you're gonna be a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Right? You can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
And actually you should be. And I think Chasing the Dragon is about that. It's about somebody like Hannah that is doing her maximum and doing her best to do her job, to be an amazing professional. Like, and at the same time, she doesn't let it down for other people that consider her less just because of her appearance or whatever. Let me see. So these are some influence. We talk about Wind River, right? And this toxic places and environments. About thrillers too. Thrillers, they are so male-centric. White male-centric, right? Which for me is not a problem at all, but I would like to see more diversity. I would like to see more characters. And so that's why I introduce Hannah into a thriller, into this environment. I want to tell stories about these people that you can you glance at them and you don't give anything. You say that, they are nothing or they are just simple people, but actually they have so much strong and powerful energy inside them, so much dedication and willpower. Yeah, right? And in situations of struggle, situations of conflict, this willpower take control in a way that their mind just stay focused on their goal and they just go forward. Like, for example, on Aliens, right?
Yeah.
And I love this kind of stories.
No, it's so good to see more films like that, and then something that I've always admired about you and many other queer LGBTQ directors and filmmakers. And I want to touch on this issue of representation in cinema. As someone who isn't native to Utah, what is your view of where our industry is at in terms of representation and providing opportunities for minorities and for filmmakers to tell unique and diverse stories? And if it's not quite where it should be, then what still needs to change?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm the best person to say that. Like, I have lived in Utah just for 3 years, so I have a limited perception of that, of just 3 years, right? But I think what filmmakers in Utah, they need to do, would be nice if they could do, like, to have more diversity, is actually getting out of the comfort zone, like learning about different cultures, getting out of their bubble. But I think the filmmakers could actually get out of their comfort zone, and try to see the world through the eyes of other people, different kind of perspectives.
Absolutely.
Try to understand the other, why this person see that way. And maybe, I'm not gonna say you're gonna try to do a film through the eyes of a different person, but because of course your vision, your perception is gonna be there, but try to learn with others. I think this will make more rich the works that are in Utah. Another thing is, I think about being a filmmaker is not just telling the stories that is in your head. I think being a filmmaker is also being a researcher.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So when I was doing about, for example, Chase the Dragon, like being about transgender woman, I did not just rely on my own experience. I went there and I read everything as possible about law enforcement. I searched for the TCOPs, as I said before, organization about that, asking advice. I asked two detectives to help me with the story. I asked Natalie Day, for her to give her input. And Natalie Day and Emma Greenberg. So both of them are transgender women that they help in the script. I would like to say, see, take a look at this. Tell me what you think about it.
And Emma was your producer, right?
Yeah, she was the associate producer. Another thing is, when we are writing, I ask Bethany Joy, Like Bethany Joy wrote all the parts that was very feminine. I said like, I really need that. I need your vision, you know. And so when Natalie is in the bathroom, the first scene in Chasing the Dragon was wrote by Bethany. Right? I want to have this different vision and different perceptions that I know I was not capable of. You know, I don't want people to think, oh, Eduardo wrote the story. Well, I have the energy. I have the first spark, right? But I bring people that has the visions to make Chasing the Dragon a story that's not just believable, but a story that actually is real.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think the filmmakers can do that too. You know, and they don't need to be shy. Oh, because I'm white, I cannot do a story about a black African American. Of course, there is some problems like that can happen on this process. But like, why don't you bring maybe African Americans to help you to tell the story? Why don't you try to understand that?
That's the director's job is. I think the biggest misconception about directors as far as what they do is, you're communicating a vision primarily, but your biggest job is bringing the right team together.
Yeah, exactly.
And finding people who have not just the right skill sets technically, but the right insights, the right knowledge, the right passion and vision and experiences, you know. And I think that a lot of filmmakers, myself included, I've been like this too, are far too protective of their stories that they're afraid of, either they're afraid of or their ego is too large to allow someone else in to give their perspective and that kind of thing. And I think a big breakthrough that most filmmakers hit is when they finally break through that ego or that fear and start opening themselves up to other people's input and trusting other people that they are going to value your story and what you're trying to do, and they become infinitely better filmmakers once they do that.
Absolutely. And I think if they are not allowing to have different visions, you know, different influences from other people. Like the director is not the mastermind, you know, he's more like an organizer of things. You know, he has the vision and he makes everything on track for that vision to be accomplished. Absolutely, right. But I think filmmaker is a collaborative art form.
Oh, 100%.
Right? When I look at Chasing the Dragon, I see, for example, all my camera department work. I see Chris Copier, he was my gaffer. He did an amazing job on the lighting, you know, and I see his work there. And when people, I feel like sometimes people treat, oh, this is your film. This is not my film. This is our film.
No, absolutely.
Like, I would never be able to do Chasing the Dragon if it was not by my crew. So I always say, like, take this film as yours. And when I look at Chasing the Dragon, I think this is so much bigger than me. Right? It's not my baby. I think this is just idea that born with me, and everybody came together because people believe on that. Chris Copier believe a lot on that. Jose Remes, Bethany Joy, and many others. Angela Chalice that actually receive a best cinematography, right? Utah Film Awards. Yeah, we need to talk about film festivals. I have so many to talk about that.
All right, so production on Chasing the Dragon. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced?
I think the first challenge was the crowdfunding. I decided to do crowdfunding, and I didn't know anything about crowdfunding, right? So the first step for me was when I was at Sundance, the film festival here in Park City. Not Sundance, it's Sundance, which is better.
I mean, Sundance is fun, but
It's Sundance. If you are a filmmaker, yes. You're just going to have filmmakers in the audience. You're just going to deal with filmmakers. You are not going to deal with cinephiles. And that's why Sundance for me is perfect. Now, last time we did an interview with Soderbergh.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
Steven Soderbergh was so amazing to listen to.
Yeah, I was coordinating all the cameras and things like that. And there was do you know the actress in Deadpool, the African-American woman? She was there.
Like Zazie Beetz?
Yeah, she was there like 3 feet away from, not 3 feet.
I didn't notice. She was in...
yeah, she was there, right? And last year, we have the Russo brothers talking about the Avengers. Yeah, and they have several workshops, and one of the workshops was about how to do crowdfunding. And so they have this, we know about Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and there is one that's called Seed and Spark. Seed and Spark is specialized just for filmmakers. It's a crowdfunding for filmmakers.
if anybody out there is thinking of doing crowdfunding for their film, look into Seed and Spark because they really are just incredible.
Yeah. And so I learned a lot with them, with the workshop there. I got their contacts, and then I started searching a lot of the internet. It was so much work. And so when I started doing the crowdfunding, I did the Instagram account and I tried to get as many as followers as possible. So we got 3,000 followers where I was actually following them. Like I was actually interacting with each one of them and sending messages and things like that. I got blocked several times.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
And was not made by bots. So I didn't get like these bots where you get like fake bots.
Don't
followers.
pay for that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
that was it's not worth it.
It's so obvious
Yeah.
when that's happening, and
Yeah.
people usually just block you. It's a
Yeah.
waste of money.
Yeah, so I follow everyone that was from law enforcement and everyone that was transgender and LGBT rights, which was a great confusion sometimes because like people that are in law enforcement sometimes give some kind of homophobic and transphobic comments, but like it's okay, like it's part of the process, right? Well, it's not okay.
Well,
but
and also,
it's-
like you said earlier,
Yeah.
you also got a bunch of flack from the other side of it
Yeah.
too, wasn't from LGBTQ people saying, "Why are you making a film about
yeah,
cops?"
yeah,
So,
yeah. That's this kind of stuff. And then in the crowdfunding, we got $4,000. Right, we got several donations, which was amazing. I sent, I think, more than 100 emails a day.
100 emails a day.
Like, and messages on Instagram, messages on Facebook. I was reaching out on groups, LGBT groups, transgender groups on Facebook. There was one transgender group on Facebook that she sent like to a network of other 20 pages on Facebook that she she and other moms of transgender
awesome.
kids, Yeah, they coordinate, so they send a lot. We have so I was reaching out all the time and was pretty stressful. I was doing it mostly by myself. And I had to build a website for Chasing the Dragon, had to pay the domain and all this stuff. And at the end, we got $4,000. But I'm going to say I would never in my life do a crowdfunding by myself again.
Yeah.
It's super stressful. Like if you really want to do it, it's not just create the thing. Like you need to have 30% in the first 3 days. Or you are not gonna have money, believe me, because like people are just gonna start donating to your crowdfunding if they look at your crowdfunding and they see that there is money there. So they say, "Oh, people are donating, so I'm gonna donate too." If there are $0 there, people don't donate. And more people that are gonna donate is probably your closest friends and people from your circle, like from your relationship circle.
Yeah.
Right.
But also, if you rely only on those people, you're not going to make it.
Oh yeah, but like there are steps, like they are the first ones. They're gonna donate. They're gonna help you reach the 30%. If you don't reach the 30% by these donations, you need to put your own money there, right? Because you need the 30% on the first 3 days.
Yeah, if you see that a crowdfunding campaign is like 30 to 50% complete, you are so much more likely to give your money because
Yeah, exactly.
it seems like your money is going to actually be successful, or that there's a lot more people behind it that are also putting their money towards it.
Yeah, and you need to post every day saying, "Oh, we reached this amount of money." You need to show them energy. You need to show them progression. People want to be part of something that's going forward. People don't want to be part of something that is stagnated. So you need to show that your campaign is successful because people want to join successful things.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. I think that's a great way of saying it.
Yeah. And so after the crowdfunding, this was one, and then we started doing the production, right?
But before we move into production, sorry about the crowdfunding. So how many days was your crowdfunding? Because I know they offer a couple different options for how
30
long.
days.
You did 30 days.
30
Okay.
days, yeah. And I think we reach 80%. That's $4,000
Yeah,
of
with
the $5,000
Seed and
goal.
Spark, you have to reach 80%, I think, which is what,
Yeah.
right? Isn't it 80%?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, which is really nice because it's not the 100% or lose it, method, but it still holds you, accountable. And I think with those, people are usually more willing to give their money towards those because they know that like you have to reach your goal. Whereas like something like Indiegogo, where you just keep the money regardless, then people are like, well, if I'm the only person who ends up putting money in, then he just keeps my $100, and then or whatever. So
Yeah. And also the filmmaker behaves differently. You need you need to take serious. This is your dream, right? Doing films is your dream, but it's much more than that,
yeah.
right? This could be your life. So is our lives. Like we earning money with that or not is our lives, right? So I think you take this serious and just go forward and search for the answers. I mean, like for the information. I think a lot of people just try to. I think I know what I'm gonna do and just gonna go and do it. I think it's nice to have the attitude of doing and starting things, but having the attitude to research, take this serious, and really dedicate yourself, your chances of success are much higher.
And the good thing about Seed and Spark is they don't cap you out. So once you've made your goal, you can keep getting more until the crowdfunding campaign is over. And I believe they even they select a few films that did really well and are like super popular.
Oh yeah, they have
they
grants.
let you just keep going too. Yeah. They will reopen your.
That's
I think,
so cool.
I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe when I was researching it, they also said that if you have a very successful popular campaign that's really got some steam, you can ask them to reopen the donations again, and they'll.
I didn't know that. I could actually ask that because I spent so much money on Chasing the Dragon. $8,000.
Yeah, it's not cheap making those big films. So let's talk about production and where all that money went into.
So like we have police cars, we have guns, we move everybody into cameras. We shot in Camas, Utah. We have the location. We have this location have everything animals.
Beautiful location.
Yeah,
though.
was so hard to. Well, everything is hard in film. I need to stop saying it's so hard. But right. But took me a long time to find the right location. Right. Many people are like saying, oh, why don't you do here, and there's one point where I say, okay, no, my vision needs something else, and I'm very picky with locations because I think locations is one of the key points, right? Like it's the setting, everything there. Like this is one of the pillars if it's gonna make it believable. Like people insist in doing short films and starting on dorms, like with kids, right? Yeah. Like people love to do that. Like this is a terrible idea. Right, so I didn't want this to look like that. So we went to a real farm with real animals. A smell of how you say the
manure.
Yeah, okay, manure. Yeah, everywhere, right? And I choose very carefully people that are gonna be on my crew. Like I knew that Chasing the Dragon could be my last shot to be a filmmaker here in the United States. So I said, oh, no, I'm gonna make this count. This is gonna be good. Like I'm gonna one thing I would not regret. In the future, I'm not gonna think, wow, I could actually put more effort into Chasing the Dragon. Absolutely not. I put much more than actually I should because my health. I work so much into that. Right, so I got a lot of people that really know their shit, and we didn't have to teach people how to do on set because people knew this was super important, right? Because this was an important project for me, right?
Yeah.
There's some certain projects where, okay, let's get just people that are nice. Like, for example, Metamorphosis in my last film, I just got people that I like to hang out with. I just got people that I know I'm going to have a good time. I just want people to have a good time. And sincerely, I think it's more beautiful than Chasing the Dragon. And I really like that short, and I think he's could be more successful than Chase the Dragon, and he's less expensive. However, they are two different kinds of film.
Oh,
right? Two different kinds of films, and so it's kind of hard to compare. So we have 3 days, but 3 days of shooting. We use just some technical stuff here, right? We use I think the red helium with cooking lenses, which was really good stuff.
I was sitting. I was on sound, and the camera kept catching my eye.
Yeah.
Sexy setup.
Yeah, it was a good camera, right? My next one is gonna be with Alexa Mini and Anamorphic. I already decided.
Wow.
I'm gonna do that.
You're going full in. Wow.
Yeah, that I'm gonna do that. It's not that expensive actually. Well, in film.
Relatively.
Everything is expensive
Relatively.
in film. Everything is hard. Okay, yeah, right, yeah. And we actually have several issues during production, right? Many people didn't know that. One of them was the living room scene was not working, right? And that was just terrible. Like we start filming, and then I look at my DP and said, no, this is not working. I don't like it. And she looked at me and said, I don't like it too. Like this is good. Like why I like to work with Angela. Like, and I have people that are close to me and they understand me, because if I don't like something, I say immediately, right? And other people, they got offended, right? And my friends and people that I work with, they understand when I say, okay, wow, this is not working. I don't like it, and they completely understand that. I'm not saying that they are incompetent. I'm saying that we need to do something else.
Yeah.
And when I love something, I usually say out loud.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah, I know. And so we stop that scene and we start shooting other stuff, and then we come back like to do the last scene again, right? And kind of work it, like we solve a lot of that scene on the editing.
Yeah.
And I think like 1/3 of the scene is stayed on the editing. What we didn't went to the final cut of that scene.
Yeah, I noticed.
Yeah,
I noticed
right?
when I was watching it.
A bunch of lines and things. Yeah, but yeah, this were some of the problems. There is much more, but I think it's good for us to talk about good stuff, right?
You don't want to dwell on the negative, but I think talking about what went wrong and what could have done better and what you learned from that is very, very useful.
Oh, I
to
can talk about
ourselves
that.
and for other people, just because of the fact that you learn from others' mistakes, so you don't have to make it yourself, or you learn from your mistakes, so you can move on. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get into that other stuff, we can, but I think.
Well, I can talk about like what I learned, which is the dragon some lessons.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to phrase it rather than just dwelling on, rehashing everything that went wrong. Mm-hmm. What were the biggest takeaways for you? What did you learn from production on such a large scale film compared to what you'd worked on before, personally, of course?
I learned that it's very important for you to have a vision. You need to know where you're gonna go. You need to know what do you want. If you don't know what you want, you cannot expect people to give you something good. Mm-hmm. So I learned that to have exactly what I want in my mind. I learned how to express that correctly to people. Especially sets are stressful. You have so much in your mind, and then you think you are expressing yourself correctly, but actually you are not. Yeah. Right? This is a tricky thing.
It's
right?
probably the hardest part of directing, in my opinion.
That's why I like so much to work with Jacob. Like, Jacob was my assistant director, and he was always there, and always like, Jacob, what do you think? Like, actually, I was asking feedback for Jacob about myself, and I'm being rude. And so Jacob, well, I'm kind of, I'm not a dictator, but I do things. I keep much in focus. Maybe you can tell more about how I am.
You have,
Okay.
yeah. So,
Oh yeah.
Sure, I'll take it for a sec. No, you definitely are not a dictator at all. But I think it is like what you said. You have a very clear vision of what this film needs to be, and I think because of the weight of the social issues that film was dealing with transgender issues, you were aware of that extra weight, and that
I was stressed. Yeah,
there was a lot more writing on it that was important for you to tell that story correctly, and I don't think that anybody on that set thought for a second that you were being a dictator or anything like that, because it was so clear in the way you communicated.
Oh, that's good to know.
How important this was. It seemed like everybody on the crew got that you just meant it's not right. It's not what we needed. We need to keep trying for something better, which I think is something that is very hard for new filmmakers to learn, is and this is something that I had to learn the hard way on a couple shorts, but especially on Nomads, is every time you think that you're set and that you think you've got everything perfect, stop and check everything one or two more times and ask yourself, is there anything I can make better? Because I promise you there is usually something that you overlooked, or that you could, not necessarily that you overlook and that it's bad, but that you overlooked a way you could improve it or make it more impactful.
You have a plan B too.
Oh yeah, definitely always have a plan B.
Especially with XLR cables. I like just get a bunch of them. Like it's from the U, you need 5 to do a production. So I think like this is some of the lessons I learned with Chasing the Dragon. Like other things is more like how to do with actors. That was so good. Like I learned so much how to do with actors. This is, for me, Chasing the Dragon is a high stone. How you say, like foundation stone.
Stepping stone?
Stepping stone.
Yeah, is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I think for me, like Chase the Dragon was a stepping stone for me to be a director, in the sense of actually directing actors. Like for me, it was super important. That's one of the reasons why I got really people to know that what they are doing in their shit, because I don't want to worry about lighting. I don't want to worry about camera. I want to just pay attention to the actors.
Yeah. Well, it shows it paid off. They were incredible performances.
Natalie got Best Actress.
Yeah, at the Utah Film Awards. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the festival circuit and post. Not only did Natalie win Best Lead Actress, but Angela won for Best Cinematography as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Which, from everyone I talked to, they said it was far and away. Like there was no question that was gonna be the winner because of how amazing of a job she did. The cinematography in Chasing the Dragon, if you haven't had the opportunity to see it yet, definitely keep an eye out for it. I'm sure it'll be in a few more festivals, and I know it's not available anywhere online yet.
No,
right? Because you're still in the festival circuit. But I'm sure there will be some festivals coming up that you'll be able to get into, because you've already gotten into like more than a half dozen. I think you're approaching a dozen festivals that you're
we got in 12
official selected.
12 film festivals.
Wow.
We got in 12 film festivals, and we got like 4 awards actually. We got the first prize for LGBT screenplay on Rhode Island. Right, so this was just a screenplay. Then we got Best of the Best at FNMAD here in Salt Lake City.
And that's their audience award, isn't it?
The audience award, like Best of the Best. And then in Utah Film Awards, we got 4 nominations. And 2 of these nominations we won. Like, so the nominations were Best Music Score and Best Ensemble Cast. Ensemble, something like
Ensemble
that.
Cast.
Ensemble Cast, yeah. And then we are the winners for Best Lead Actress and Best Cinematography, right? Angela Chalice and Natalie Day.
Which was well deserved.
Angela did a great, amazing job, like, on the cinematography. I just look at the framing and said, okay, that's it. Well, we communicate very well. She knew exactly what I wanted. Right?
She also cam-opped the whole thing. Like you didn't have. I don't think you had another cam-op. Like
she was the camera.
In her hands the whole time.
Angela is like that. Angela is a DP camera operator. She needs to be on camera. She doesn't like. Like holding the camera. Yeah, she's like that. So we put like the vast rig, a easy rig on her.
Yeah, the easy
rig.
Right,
yeah. There's one part I tried to make her run with the easy rig and the camera didn't work that shot, but whatever. We tried. And Natalie, I was really surprised. Natalie is an actress I really want to work with her. She for the rehearsal, she came with pages and pages of notes of what Hannah Robinson would do. Like, we start talking about the character, we got, like, there's so much backstory to Hannah. Like, we know that Hannah is a country girl, right? But this is not in the film, but this is all things that she came, ideas when we were talking about, right? And many times it's like, what do you think Hannah will do? And I think Hannah will do that. I say, okay, let's do it. right? Let's Hannah. Hannah is the one that knows.
I noticed that a few times, which was good because at the time I had just it was so nice because I had been on a bunch of sets that I was pretty critical of the directors because they didn't really seem to, they either focused too much on the technical or too much on, and so they didn't give the time to actually think like what would the characters do, and it shows so much in Chasing the Dragon that the characters, like you said, you don't get a lot of backstory, you don't get time to really get to know them, but they just feel so authentic. All of that is there, and it was so well deserved for that.
I learned how to direct on Fall City. Fall City is a feature film that was filmed here. That was the gaffer. So I saw how the director was dealing with the actors, and I replicate a little bit. But that, of course, with the Brazilian kind of way. In Brazil, I heard like how to deal with actors in a. There is some kind of dynamics you do with actors, like sometimes when you even need, let the actor tired, right? You to lower his energy, so when he goes to the set, he goes differently. It's not my type, but my type is mostly like doing exercises with Anne, breathing exercises, make the let the actor be in character. Right, and then I, at the same time, together with the actor and the character, right, we're gonna create this story together. So I'm not like, oh, you need to say verbatim like what's in the script. I'm not about that. I'm about what this character is gonna do right now. Like there's one thing I like to do also. I haven't done much that on Chasing the Dragon, but I'm implementing on my next shorts. Is ask for the actor to perform, and I'm going to have a conversation with the character. Oh. Actually, going back to the film festivals, right? So we got into 11 film festivals. One of them was Utah Film Awards, which was an amazing festival. It was, I like the first time I heard about that, I was not very sure, and then when I actually went there, it was really, really good. Like I think I met a bunch of filmmakers that are legit. The festival is very legit. I feel that of course, we call Utah Film Awards and Festival, right? It's much more an award ceremony.
Yeah.
Right? That's the feeling, right? And I think is a way to celebrate movies, is a way to also prepare yourself to deal with the audience. Like as a filmmaker, you're expressing yourself. Like we have to go in the stage there and talk to 200 people more, like in the audience, right? And I think for me, Utah Film Awards was a great opportunity because through these two, I have no doubt that these two awards we received was what opened doors for us to go to other film festivals. For example, Wicked Queer, that's a 30 years film festival in Boston. I fly there. It was super amazing. Like we got into Davy Fest. Like it's the David D. Ross Foundation. David D. Ross Fetzer Foundation. They are really well known, like in the grants, right? And my film got there, and I just was last week. No, last week was this weekend right now. And we screening twice. I met people that are doing feature films. I met two writers. One of them, he's a writer for SNL.
Oh, wow.
Right, yeah, and she's a writer for something else, I don't know, really big stuff like in Hollywood, and they had the films there together with me, like in the same festival.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Of course, mine was in Utah session, right, and they were the grantees, so they received the grant, right, so it's a different thing, but we are in the same film festival. I talked with these people, I was eating with these people. I think film festivals is a perfect opportunity for you to connect with filmmakers, doing friendship with them, because believe me, these people, you're gonna need these people, and these people are gonna need you. And that's when you start, because right now many of them know I'm going to California. I'm gonna move to California very soon, and many of them are already talking with me, for us to meet there and start doing projects together. I think for us, priceless going to film festivals, priceless. Like I think we are pretty much lucky to go to this 12, and I think, oh yes, and we are going now to, I think it was 12th. No, 12, how we say?
12?
12. Yeah, the 12 Film Festival. Yeah, 12 Film Festival, because we're gonna be screening on North Carolina LGBT gay and lesbian film festival.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
and this is actually a very good one. I would like to actually travel there.
Oh, that would be
Yeah,
awesome.
I think that's gonna be a cool one.
All right, so I know this has been a pretty long episode, but there have just been so many awesome things, and I'm definitely going to get you back for another episode very, very soon. I want to do a deep dive into multiple topics that we've talked about today. So, but just to kind of wrap things up, what's next for you? What are you working on?
Well, right now, I'm gonna be working on 3 different short films. I'm gonna direct actually a screen dance and direct a music video until August. And also I am actually gonna be paid to do this too, right? To direct these 2 music videos. And I would like to do one more short film before moving from Utah. I'm not very sure what I'm gonna do yet. If I'm gonna do horror. I know I cannot spend money, so it needs to be very low budget. But it needs to be low budget, but cannot look like low budget, of course. Yeah, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna do a comedy, a romance, or a horror, right? Because I think that's easier for me to do.
Those are all good low budget options.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm a big horror fan, and I think you'd make a really good horror movie.
Do you know what's the problem with horror? Because I know so many people that work with like makeup,
Prosthetics and stuff?
prosthetics, and I know I'm gonna fucking spend a lot of money. I'm gonna start having ideas, and I'm trying. You know what my idea is to do? Is to do a horror film about aliens with found footage.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I think that would be an interesting go, and like very documentary style.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and that's something you'd definitely be good at. That documentary style.
Yeah, I have done
it
some
definitely
documentary
fits
before,
you.
yeah.
Definitely. No, that's really awesome. I'm super excited to see it, and I'm very excited for when Chasing the Dragon finally gets released to the general audience, so that more people can check it out. But
I think next year probably.
next year, awesome. And in the meantime, like we talked about, it's a ton of festivals. So if you out there get a chance to see it, definitely jump on that opportunity. So I just couple of questions before we wrap things up. Kind of rapid fire. What are a couple films that have made the biggest impact on your life or on your filmmaking?
On my filmmaking, I think most actually are not films. I think are paintings. Paintings make a lot of impact on me, And when I was studying art, that art theory it's so amazing, right? And then I start seeing that film is just a different form of art. It's like painting, right? And so I think for me was I don't know exactly the name in English, but is the one of them we talked about impressionists before, right? And will be I think is sunrise or sunset. I don't know the name in English, right? And that is the impression of a sunset, and that painting is the one that gave the name of impressionism to a whole different art movement, right? Another one that was very important to me was Caravaggio, and everything that they do with lighting, contrast of shadows and highlights for me was very interesting. Another one that I like a lot was the Mayan and Mesoamerican culture.
Beautiful
artwork. Yeah, so this is some of them. Some films has a big influence on me as a person, not just on my art, right? But as a person, like for example, Interstellar is a film that was really important for me. Another one is What Dreams Come.
What Dreams May Come. Yes, I love that. It's one that I've heard some criticism towards, but like I personally love that film so
That's
much.
a film. If I am really bad and depressive, because everybody has their times, I just need to watch the film.
Yeah, it is such a.
It's important for me.
It is such a dark and sad film at times that you'd think it
Emotional,
wouldn't be, but it is so impactful, and the message of it, overall just literally going through hell for somebody that you love,
It's
who
beautiful.
suffered from mental illness and from loss and just horrible things. And it's so incredible. And the use of color, I can see why you like that, especially as an art major, because I remember when I very first saw that.
He goes in leaving the
he
painting.
goes into the painting. And
That's
lives in it,
amazing,
and,
yeah.
And when all the paint on the flowers like gets on his clothes as he's running and stuff, and then it all becomes real. And Cuba Gooding Jr. even says it'll be real when it's real to you, or something like that.
Yes,
right?
yes,
Like,
absolutely.
It's such a brilliant film. It's so many brilliant performances, and it's actually I'll take time real quick to tell this story. I was engaged at a very young age. I got engaged at 17, and my first date with my ex-fiance, I got to pick the movie because I was the movie buff, and I picked What Dreams May Come, which is an awesome movie, but it is not a first date movie. You do not take somebody on a first date to
My
watch
God.
that, because it is so heavy and dark.
Yeah, it is.
But it worked out because...
Keeps you thinking after the...
Yeah, but I love that film. If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out.
The
Just
Shining also
incredible.
is a good one.
Oh, yes. I love Kubrick. Absolutely. All right, so just one last thing then. What is, especially coming from someone who's a professor, up at the or an instructor. I'm not sure if are you technically called a professor up there, or just an instructor? Okay. So as someone who's an instructor at a university and has all this experience, what is one piece of advice that you'd give to other filmmakers who are just starting out?
Well, I think the piece of advice, I think like something that people may not have heard before, like something new, if I can do. I hope it's not too personal, but for me, I always have moments where I thought, okay, I am terrible at this, I'm really bad filmmaker, and I have moments where I look at myself, my God, I'm an amazing filmmaker, I'm gonna be great, and I think for a filmmaker, you need to find a balance. Like when you're super low, remember, okay, it's not what I'm thinking, this is just part of the process. And when you are super there, you are super positive and full of energy, wow, I'm gonna do great things in your life. Don't kill the fire, right? Don't extinguish the fire, but at the same time, put yourself back, think about it, do some self-criticism, and always try to find a balance between this low self-esteem that creates huge egos or very, you putting yourself down. Everything is kind of is everything centered on egocentrism, like because you keep thinking about yourself, like I'm the worst or I am the best, right?
Yeah.
But like always try to get a balance in it, like, and never think that you are less or more than anybody else around you.
No, I 100% agree.
You can be in a good situation now or in a bad situation now, but things change very quickly.
Especially in this industry.
Especially in this industry. One day you are directing, another one you are not anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, and one day you are a PA, and next one you are a director.
No, exactly. Especially when you're just starting out. Like I work on, whenever I get any kind of paid work, I'm usually a sound mixer. Maybe I'm a sound mixer.
Yeah.
It's actually usually I'm a boom op, just holding it. I'm not even actually mixing, and then I turn around and in my personal life, I'm producing multiple short films and I'm directing, I'm doing all this stuff. So it's like you do have to have that balance and balance your ego in order to not get too down on yourself, but also not let you get out of control.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I think that's really awesome advice. That's really awesome advice. Eduardo, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Welcome.
This has been...
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, and especially as our first episode, like this was so chock full of information. It was pretty long. If you're still listening, thank you so much for staying tuned. Eduardo, what are some of the... where can people find you? Do you have any plugs or anything that you want to give before we leave?
Yes, well, we have... the website, right, Chasing the Dragon. That's www.chasingthedragon, short, eduardoayressoares.com. Like there you can see all the film festivals you're gonna be. You're always like kind of updating the website, I think probably 2 or 3 times a month. If you want to know more about my work, you can go to my website, that is www.eduardoayressoares.com. If you have
Which well, I'll make sure it's linked in the description in the show notes. Yeah. No, you're okay. Yeah, I'll make sure it's all definitely checked down below for all that.
There's my Vimeo, or now I'm starting posting on my YouTube, on my Instagram. It's pretty now. I'm trying to post twice a week. Most of my works as a DP and some work as a director. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you again so much, Eduardo. This has been such an awesome conversation. Thank you to all the listeners out there. We've got a bunch more episodes coming with some really awesome people. We're going to be talking to Chaz Evans, who's another writer-director who won Best Film Under $500 at the Utah Film Awards. We're going to be talking to some other local producers, filmmakers, giving you the opportunity to get to know them, as well as learn a little bit about their craft and how they do what they do. So thank you so much, and we will see you next time.